Hello there, friends. Hello, hello, hello. Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and I want to wish you a very, very happy new year. We are through the holiday season, right? We're into the terrible bleakness of January, right? That everybody dreads after the holidays are over. And I do too, don't get me wrong. But one thing I do really enjoy about January is actually taking the time to sit and figure out what my favorite books that I read the previous year were. Now, I read quite a handful of books in 2024. 375 to be exact. And of course, it took a little while to figure out what were the top 5 YA books that I love the best. Well, after some deliberation, I finally figured it out, and I am here today to talk to you about those top 5. Technically, I narrowed it down to a top 10, but I like to split it in half. We're going to do the top 5 today, and then next week we're going to talk about the runners-up, the 5 runners-up. So these are the top 5 books that I loved best. Now, again, this is a list that I came up with of my own personal reading, okay? Maybe there are going to be books on this list that you're like, I've never even heard of these books, or I don't know anything about them. Or maybe you're going to say, hey, I read that book and I don't think it's even close to being, my favorite book of the year. And I love discourse about people's favorite books. So please, if there are other books, if you think the books I chose are not any good, or you want to tell me your favorite books, please let me know, because I would love to talk with you about them. Let me know in the comments. So let's get into it. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about each one. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about it. Some of them are ones I've already talked about in videos this past year, but I just want to give you a very short synopsis of what it's about and why I loved it so much. So we're going to start with number 5, okay? We're going to count backwards from 5 to 1. Number 5 is actually, I'm already cheating, right? I'm already starting off this thing with cheating. So I'm picking 2 books because they are in the same series, and that is The Buried and the Bound and The Summer Queen by Rochelle Hassan. Now, this is actually part of a trilogy. The 3rd book is not out yet, okay? But books 1 and 2 are out, and they are both absolutely amazing. Now, this is a series I picked up on a whim. I have not heard any buzz about this series at all, which makes me super sad because I was really blown away by how much I absolutely loved it. So this is the very first book, The Buried and the Bound, and then The Summer Queen is book 2. And the 3rd book should be coming out sometime this year in 2025. I don't have a firm date on that yet, but keep an eye on it. It should be coming out sometime this year. So this book is an urban fantasy, which means it takes place in the real world, but there are some magical elements to it. So actually it takes place in Massachusetts, and our main character, Zima, is a hedge witch. And basically what that means is she takes care of the borders around her community to make sure that the Fae, which live on the other side, don't come through and cause a lot of mischief, okay? So she keeps the borders clean, she keeps the riffraff fairy from causing trouble, and she basically nurses a relationship with those fae to make things go really easy. Well, dark magic in the beginning of the 1st book starts to leak through the boundary, and she needs help. She is way over her head. So enter Leo. He is our other character in this story. Now, Leo is dealing with a curse where when he turned 16, he forgot every moment of the person he loves most in the world. That person's name is gone, all his experiences with this person. He has no idea who it is. The memory, everything is gone. So he is desperately trying to find a way to regain those memories and break the curse. So him and Azima make a pledge to each other, even though they really don't know each other before this. Hey, I will help you patrol the boundaries. I will help you get to the bottom of what's going on with the boundary if you help me break my curse. So basically the story is about both of them plus a 3rd shadowy character, Necromancer, who comes into the picture, who we're not sure in the beginning if he's a good guy or a bad guy or what's going to happen with that. So what I loved about this series, first of all, like I said, I went into it, I don't even remember why I picked it up. I must have loved the cover, I guess. I had not heard of this author before, had not heard of the series. I absolutely loved this writing. I thought it was really well done. The dialogue was really fun. The descriptions of it were really fun. And it was just great writing and a great story. So if you like fantasies, but particularly urban fantasy, this is a wonderful series that I think does not get enough love and is number 5 on my list, The Buried and the Bound. Okay, coming in at number 4, The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson, you probably recognize as the very, very talented author of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And this is a standalone book that she has written that came out this past year that I read that I absolutely loved. And it basically is about this young woman named Belle whose mother disappeared, I think it was like 15 years ago or something, when she was a little baby. Her mother disappeared. There was a documentary that came out about it because it was such a big deal. Like her body was never found, so nobody really ever knew, did her mom die? Did she run off? Did she leave them? What happened? Well, as the documentary is still being filmed, her mother, Rachel Price, is suddenly back in the picture. She comes back. She claims that she was being held captive somewhere, and everybody, the family, is so happy and just overjoyed to see her. Everybody except Belle, because Belle feels like there is more to this than Rachel is telling us. She is picking out holes in the story, and she doesn't quite believe everything her mother is saying. So this is about her trying to get to the bottom of why her mother came back, why she disappeared in the first place, what happened to her, and all that. This is a fast-paced, really incredible thriller. If you love thrillers, young adult thrillers, you know that Holly Jackson is a phenomenal writer. If you've read The Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, you know that it's just, she writes really intense books that are hard to put down, keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. And the best thing with this one is it's a standalone, so you don't have to read anything before it or after it. It stands all on its own merit. Wonderful story, great twists. Absolutely loved this one. Number 3. This is a book that I'm seeing on a lot of best of YA book lists from the past year, and I'm really glad, because this is another book that I feel like did not get a lot of hype, and I absolutely loved it. It blew me away, thought it was phenomenal. Dragonfruit, and this is by Makiia Lucier. Dragonfruit. Now, yes, of course I am biased. If it is a book about dragons, I'm going to obviously immediately like it, right? But even more than that, I just thought this book was absolutely incredible. So the main character in this book has actually been exiled from her community because when she was younger, her father, who was a renowned person in the community, was rumored to have stolen dragonfruit. Now, dragonfruit is a dragon egg. It's another word for dragon egg. And they are very precious in the community. Sea dragons are everything to this community. So he basically gets them cursed. The main character is forced to leave. But the beginning of the story, she is finding a way to come back. She has come across this group of raiders who are tracking down these sea dragons, and she thinks if she can go and get the dragon fruit, the sea dragon egg, and bring it back to her community, she might be able to get her place back in the community where she belongs. Also is the other main character, Sam, who is trying to search for a cure for his ailing mother who is dying. She's very ill, and the dragon fruit is said to have healing properties. So now he is after the dragon fruit as well. So they are childhood friends. They know each other, but now they are also in competition to try to get this egg. Now, what I loved about this book is, obviously it's a story about dragons, right? I'm going to love it no matter what. But I thought the writing and the story and the mythology for this was so, so incredible. It was absolutely amazing. I just thought it was really well written, and I don't know that I've ever read a story like this before that talks about sea dragons in such a way, and mythology and everything was just out of this world. I loved it so, so much. And I just love the characters too. Like, I was rooting for both of them. I thought it was phenomenal. Wonderful, wonderful book. Dragonfruit at number 3. All right, we're getting down to it. We're getting down to it. Last 2, right? Number 2. Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma. Immortal Dark. Now, I'm just here to show off my spectacular collector's edition of this book with the pretty end papers and the pretty page edges and the, you know, the naked dust jacket is, or the naked cover is really pretty too without the dust jacket. I think I have 3 copies of this book that I own because I just loved it so, so much, and I thought it was phenomenal. So this is a dark academia story. It is a vampire story, and it is probably the first book I read ever with an enemies to lovers trope where I really genuinely could not tell if they were going to kill each other, the two main characters, because they loathed each other so much in the beginning and throughout some of the story that I was like, the romance I didn't even see coming at first, because I was like, oh my god, there is no way they're going to fall for each other, because they will kill each other. And the character development and the character growth in the story were just absolutely incredible. This is, I believe, this author's first book. And I just am completely flummoxed by how amazing it is. Now, this is the first book in a series, okay? So the second book is not out yet. This came out in the fall. So we will probably have a little while before the second one comes out. If it doesn't come out this year, hopefully it will be early next year. And it does end a little bit in a cliffhanger. So if you hate cliffhangers, this might drive you a little bit crazy, but it's such a satisfying cliffhanger because you're just like, oh my gosh, it's like a cliffhanger, but a twist as well. So this has to do with our main character who, she's been living with her sister who has gone missing at the beginning of the story. And she believes that the person who kidnapped her sister was a vampire, and not just any vampire, but a vampire that is sworn allegiance to her family, who she is the last surviving member. So the only way she's going to be able to find out what happened is to infiltrate this university that trains vampires and humans that they are bound to coexist together. So she has to infiltrate this university, find out what is going on with her, sister, if she's still alive, if she's at the school or what, and also try to coexist with this vampire who she is confident is the one that kidnapped her. And these are the two that I said, like, they hate each other so much. And I loved their character development throughout the story. I thought it was absolutely amazing. The characters, the way the characters are written in this book is phenomenal. They are flawed. They are genuine. And you just can't help loving them despite all these flaws. It's a very well written book. If you love vampires, even if you're tired of vampires, make this the vampire book you read this year, because it is absolutely stunning, breathtaking book. Immortal Dark. Okay, what is the first book, the number one YA book that I read this year? Want to know? It is Heir by Sabaa Tahir. Oh my gosh, this book, it was the Young Adult Good Morning America Book Club pick for the month it came out, which I want to say was maybe October, September, something like that. So this also came out in the fall. Oh my god, this book blew me away. So Sabaa Tahir is an amazing author. She has written other things before that I've absolutely loved. This book is a spin-off of her Ember in the Ashes series, but you don't have to have read that to understand or love this book, because it's been quite a while since I've touched those books and I did not need a review or anything. You can go in without knowing anything. There's basically just some characters that overlap in both series, and that's it. And this book takes the story of 3 different characters that are woven together. One is basically a refugee, one is basically a prince, and then another one is this girl who is a magic user that is on the run. And the way their stories intertwine and the way they mix is just incredible. But what I really loved most about this book is the writing. If you've never read anything by Sabaa Tahir before, let me just tell you, she is a phenomenal young adult author. She doesn't dumb anything down. She doesn't talk down to you. She just presents these characters and you feel like you are living right there beside them. Absolutely stunning, breathtaking book. I could not stop reading it once I started it. I finished it very quickly. I loved everything about this. I can't stop recommending it enough. And I think that it's worth everybody reading, honestly. So this is my number one book pick for the YA books that I read in 2024, Heir by Sabaa Tahir. Well, there we go. Top 5 books, top 5 YA books that I read in 2024. I loved all these 5 books so much. I cannot talk about them enough. Next week we will be talking about my 5 runners-up. So another group of YA books that I thought were just absolutely stellar that I read in 2024. But yeah, these were the top 5. I hope that they sound really interesting and maybe might be something that you want to try. If so, feel free to come get them from Farmington Community Library. They're all available there. And thank you so very much for watching, friends, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.